Music City Social is produced by Star Maker PR Group, providing publicity and public relations services to the entertainment industry. Learn more at starmakerpr.com.
My guest today is independent country music artist Chase Allan. Chase moved to Nashville not too long ago and has done what many newcomers have done when moving here. He recorded some songs, he plays at local clubs, often showcasing his original music. He promotes himself on YouTube, Reverb Nation, Twitter, and Facebook. Looking at his online stats, he's made quite an impression on many of the social networks. He has almost 2,600 fans on Facebook and over 4,400 fans on Reverb Nation, and a strong following on Twitter. Instead of recording demos like many artists do, Chase spent the extra money and recorded at Nashville's finest recording studios. He hired the best musicians money can buy. Because of his hard work, excellent songwriting, and vocal skills, Chase won the NIMA Male Country Music Artist Award in 2012. Chase Allan is a talented guy who's doing everything right to make it in Nashville. Chase, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Drew, for having me.
You bet. Now, you and I met. I had an ad in Craigslist.
That's right.
On Craigslist for some publicity clients, and you answered that ad. And what was really interesting about that, you're the first musician that has ever responded to an ad. And you'd think, oh, Nashville, everybody wants publicity, but they don't think that way. And so that I found that intriguing, that you thought, hey, I need publicity. Right. So I'd like to know, why'd you pick up the phone and say, I want to call?
You had a great ad. No, but
well, it was all lies.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know what? I know the importance and the power of the internet, the web, what it's become today. It's so important to have web presence. And your ad and your company, it was right on what I thought it should be. And after meeting you, you were a right on person. So it's the professionalism of you. But yeah, you know, the web, you can't. I mean, it's you get to speak with one-on-one on your if you want on your Facebook with fans, you're interacting. It's not so much important, even though I do have a website. It's not so much important as a website as the Facebook and Reverb Nation and the other blogs and WordPress.
Yeah,
the importance of all that has really kind of overshadowed the old style website now. And so it's, I just realized that I needed to reach out and have some presence, and so that's pretty much the reason why I got a hold of you, and I'm glad I did. So I'm sitting here today.
Well, yeah, and that was actually before I started doing the show.
Right.
And then when I had the idea for the show, I wanted to do musicians and bands,
right,
but I wanted to do good ones. And your music, the first song I heard by Chase Allan was See Amazing. Right. And man, it sounds like a record. It's a great song.
Thank you.
It's your performance is outstanding. The production is great. It's not artsy. It doesn't go over people's heads. And I wanted to save the show for that type of musician or band, something that I believe in, not just who's available, to be on the show. It's got to mean something to me, and I love your music. I think it's great.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. So I got to ask, where are you from originally?
I grew up in Ohio, and also I grew up in Florida. I kind of went back and forth.
That explains the tan.
And yeah, I love Florida, but I do love this area.
Yeah,
Nashville, Tennessee. So it's been a long journey. So I've been so many places across the country that are beautiful. People, are great. It's always great meeting people from all over the country, and fans, potential fans, you know. So it's just been a great journey so far.
Now,
and it's led me here to Nashville.
That's cool. Now, were you born in Ohio?
Yes, I was born in Ohio.
And then you moved to Florida.
Yes.
At what age?
I moved to Florida at 12, 13 years old.
Gotcha.
And stayed there. And I came back to Ohio, and then I ended up going back to Florida because I like Florida so much.
I
the
like
weather,
it too.
the weather.
Yeah.
And I just, once you live in the South, which I love the South, you get used to that climate change, your body, and it's just hard to go back to a colder, weather area. Yeah. But now I'm kind of like here in Nashville, it's kind of like in between.
Yeah.
So it's a good place to be,
So in Ohio or Florida, were your parents musical? Was there a lot of music in the house?
Actually, there was. I grew up. My first experience with music was in church, and it was Southern gospel music. My mother was the song leader, and my dad was like a superintendent at Sunday school, and that's where I first got my kind of like taste for music, is in the church. Growing up, my first performance was in the church, 4 years old, and so yeah, very much so. Really growing up doing music in the church, and it kind of like went on to high school, being involved with studying classical music, Italian, German, marching band, choruses, every jazz bands. I was involved with everything: trumpet, playing trumpet, French horn, piano, a little guitar, a little drums. It just went on. From there, went to college, on studying classical music and vocal performance.
Where'd you go to college?
Olivet Nazarene University.
Wow.
I went there, performance, and I was going to be my first intention, even though I was performing, I did a little bit both classical, but I also did contemporary music too. Wow. And I had this ideal that I really loved opera, and at one point I was going to be an opera singer. And I went to there because it was close to Chicago with the Civic Theater there.
Yeah, big scene up there.
And what happened is I just couldn't shake the songwriting and the contemporary music, and so I kind of changed my path and ended up doing mainstream music. Yeah. Although classical music was a great stepping stone.
Education from that is awesome.
It helps me today. Everything I do, with being able to put music together, produce it, write it, so it's a great background to have.
Now that's quite a departure, opera and classical, from, and I'm going to use See Amazing as an example because I hear Eagles, I hear Bad Company, so they weren't playing that in church.
No.
So where did that come into play? And I want to get to your influences in a minute, but where would you say that you started saying, oh, okay, I like this type of music outside of the training?
Well, coming from a Southern gospel background, my grandmother and my grandfather were both born in Kentucky, and they were into. Actually, my grandmother was into music there too. Wow. But departing from, going from the, church style music, Southern gospel, what happened is I basically got introduced, to the more modern, contemporary radio top 40 music and real melodic music, which I've always loved melodic music, whether it be the Eagles, Bad Company, to modern day groups like Creed, to Vince Gill, all real real melodic music, and it kind of was it opened my eyes when I first heard it, because being in church, I was kind of like closed from I grew up in a pretty strict home, and which was good at the time, but but I got introduced into different types of music. And it just opened my ears to what was out there, and from jazz to contemporary music, but I really like great melodies, and I always want. And when I write my own music, I always want great melodies, or really good melodies that people can hum to.
Yeah.
They can remember the melodies from the chorus. As far as hooks go in music and stuff, that's it's I look as a whole song as a hook, not just the chorus or the verse. I really believe the first 20 seconds, 30 seconds of your song for a fan is the most important, because that's where you got to have that great beginning.
Oh, there's bands that need to learn that too, because they have songs that start terribly, and yet there's a good song there. It's just they take their time getting to it, and years and years ago when I used to buy a record, remember those made out of vinyl, and it was, you kind of decided which of the 10 songs you liked within 5 minutes, and that's because you listened to the first 10 seconds of a song and go, nah, next song. So yeah, I agree. I think the whole song needs to be the statement and melodic from beat one.
And I look at each song as almost like I guess what a writer would look as a book, as a novel, writing a novel. Yeah. Each song has its own individual characteristics, and each song you have to have care, and you have to take the time to do a song. I'm not a songwriter that writes one song every day or 6 songs a week, and I'm not knocking that. Some people do that. I usually take my time and pick out the best, the cream of the crop, and
well, let's talk about that for a second, because we've had a lot of writers on the show, and some are paid staff writers, and it is their job, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday to go to Sony International, sit in a room with 2 other guys and a guitar and a piano and a snare drum, and they have to produce a song that day. So is your songwriting structured, or would you say it's kind of always inspiration based?
I think, I guess I've kind of discovered a formula. I guess everybody, to answer that question, everybody is different. Yeah. I've discovered a formula that works for me, and it's kind of like set up. If you notice my songs, it's set up kind of like a rock structure, when rock and roll. Structure, and so like it really depends on the individual. For me, I get my lyrics are very I'm inspired to write different lyrics and stuff in the song. I usually write the music first, the composition first, the music.
You do?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then I write the lyrics. In fact, I might write 4 or 5 compositions before I write lyrics, and I'll take the 1 or 2 of the compositions that I really feel are strong compositions, and write lyrics for those songs, and I got my formula basically is it's verse, chorus, turn, verse, chorus. I like bridges, singing bridges, guitar solos, and then out and outro. So I mean, it's pretty much I would say top 40. And I'm and for me writing, because I've been offered, to do some writing, for publishing and stuff, but that's really not the reason why I came down here to Nashville. Yeah. And so it was as not so much as a singer-songwriter, but as I'm a true front man, true lead singer, performer, and I have done acoustic stuff, in which I love doing acoustic stuff shows, but I'm a foremost a band guy, in front, a big sound, big, having people like they feel like they're at a rock concert
as a
with
drummer,
a country twist.
Totally appreciate that. I like it to thump.
But it's a little bit of both. You got to be versatile these days. You got to be able to be intimate with your audience, which I just did last Saturday in Louisville, this past Saturday night.
It was a charity.
Right? Yeah, it was a charity. Lane Goodwin Foundation. Boy, he had cancer. He was 13 years old, and he battled it for years. And he, unfortunately, he lost that battle. But through that battle, he touched many lives. He actually passed away approximately about 4 months ago. And I got involved with the charity. They asked me to do this. And it went great. I met his mother and father there. They loved my music, and I'm looking forward to doing many more events with them in the future.
That's great.
And being involved. And actually, I'm making it my charity of choice. the Lane Goodwin Foundation,
Cool.
supporting it, and you know, so I'm excited about that.
That's
and it was
great.
a great show, great people in Louisville, Kentucky.
Excellent.
You know, and but yeah, that's the thing about music. You know, I'm a little different, I guess. I write all my stuff in, or I'm involved with writing all my stuff. But for the most part, I do write most of the stuff myself, and also perform it. So unlike other artists, you know, that they have to search for songs, and when you hear me, and that's okay, man. There's nothing wrong with that. But with me, when you come hear me sing and play, it's me. It's part of me, part of my heart, part of who I am.
Do you like to co-write?
I do co-write, and I'm starting to do more co-write with my new band, Chase Allan Band, and great writers on their own. I was able to pick out some of the top guys. Actually, I've one guy, drummer. He's written in the Christian bar. He wrote 2 #1 hits.
Oh wow!
So, and he's at, I think, 6 top 10 hits.
Jeez.
You know, so everybody writes in this group, and I pretty much, even though everybody writes, I'm pretty much in control of the producing and what we're gonna do. And the guys, they wouldn't do that if they wouldn't respect and know my vision and trust me. Because in music, when you don't use hired guns anymore here in Nashville, and you have guys that actually believe in what you're doing, they trust is a big part of it. Knowing that Chase is he's gonna do what's right for us.
Well, Nashville is the pickup gig city of the world. I mean, there's so many bands that I don't think visitors from out of town realize that you can go downtown and hear an incredible band, but it's guys that do not play together often enough. Right. And they're good enough musicians that it comes together, but there's a difference between a bunch of hired guns and a band.
You know what?
A band is a family.
Yes, you're right. It's personal. I'm a very personal person. I've played with a lot of my friends they're hired musicians, great musicians in their own right. A lot of fun. They love my music, and they believe I'm going in the right direction. But it's hard to nail them down, you know, because they're in positions where they have to do what they have to do. Yeah. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to put together a group of guys that are really good writers in their own right. And they're looking for longevity, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for not necessarily this album. I'm looking 2-3 albums down the road already. Sure. You know, and so that's the main thing, is longevity, having your own voice. So when people turn on their radio, they can say, you know, that's Chase Allan. Right. Just like when you hear Rod Stewart or Vince Gill or Keith Urban, they know that voice. I don't sound like anybody, and that's basically what people are telling me. I'm unique. So that's a great place to be, finding your own voice, because some people musicians or singers, they never find their own voice. And
what was the transition from Florida to Nashville? What made you come here?
Well, basically, I lived in LA also, and I have a lot of friends in LA, and I had to make a choice. I'd been writing, and I wanted to get back in. I took a couple years off of music, and at the time I was still writing though, and I was off the road, and I decided, do I want to move back to LA or do I want to move to Nashville? My choice to choose Nashville was because of people like Shania Twain, Keith Urban, even Taylor Swift. You know, with the advent of, you know, the change in the opening of the doors, so to speak, of a new style, a country music, where you could have that little bit of a rock and roll feel or a pop feel to it.
Sure.
And even though, you know, I love the old stuff, okay, but I can't write that way, and I don't write that way, and I don't sing that way. So that being said, I thought it was prime time, because my sound was so different, and the doors were opening for that type of music to move to Nashville. Cool. And it's helped me a lot, and it's going the right direction right now.
Tell me about L.A., because I've a lot of people that have lived in both places, Nashville and L.A.,
Yeah.
they typically hated L.A.
Yeah.
That it was a fierce, ugly town. Was that your experience?
Well, what brought me out of L.A., I had an aunt and 3 uncles that lived in L.A. And one uncle lived actually in North Hollywood, had his own business, a big paint business, and he'd painted for like movie actresses and actors indoors and stuff, and you know, beautiful homes out there. And basically, I went out there and I got involved with a couple groups, playing places like the Whiskey and other avenues like that. But you know, it really, you're right, Drew. It really wasn't me and where I wanted to go.
Right.
The lifestyle and because you know, I do have, even though I like rock and roll, I like country. I do have country boy in me, you know. But it was a great experience. I have a lot of friends that have been successful out there playing with major artists, and I just wanted to change, so I came back to Florida for a while, and then made my move to Nashville.
Wow. Now, was that ever something you explored, playing for somebody else?
The only time I ever played, really, I wasn't a front man, in basically doing my own thing with a band, was a jazz band, very talented jazz band, where I played piano with actually a Latin band, a bunch of guys that were Hispanic guys, Spanish guys, talented. It was more like it was they're incredible, like jazz style, you know, musicians and stuff, and great, some of the best musicians I've ever played with.
Okay, you go L.A. to Florida, and then you wind up in Nashville. What's the first thing you did here?
The first thing I did was basically I went out, saw the Nashville, went to studios, met people. Then I basically secluded myself for a year, and wrote music for a year. And that was the first thing I did. And then when I felt that I had enough material, I started looking for studios once again to record at. And the studio I came to that I really liked was a studio called Treasure Isle.
Yeah.
That's where Chase Allan and, you know, many other historical studio. The owner, Fred Vale, Fred was actually original promoter of the Beach Boys. He goes back, LA guy, ingrained in the music business here. He's the longest running owner of an independent studio here in Nashville.
Wow.
So he liked my music, loved what I was doing. Went there, recorded, used some of the top guys. Like I used Rich Redmond played drums for me, and Tolly Kennedy, bass player of Jason Aldean. I had Chris Luthinger played guitar, was my band leader. He did all the Garth Brooks band leader sessions on over 100 million albums.
Wow.
Kenny Greenberg. You know, I used so many, you know, guys. Adam Schoenfeld. He's done Big and Rich, Urban. You know, Jake plays in all the Jason Aldean stuff. Tom Bukovac. It just goes on. Dan Dugmore, Eagles, Fleetwood Mac.
It's crazy you can get that talent here to play on your music. It's crazy.
And you know, tell you the truth, not everybody does that. Yeah. But that's why it took me a little longer because I did it, I want to say, the right way. Yeah. And I guess if there is a right way, hiring the top guys, you know, that they're not going to do you wrong. They're going to do your music justice. These guys can take a song, if it's a good song, and make it great. Yeah. And that's what they did for me. And See Amazing would not have came out in other songs like that if it wasn't for these guys. And developing relationships with these studio musicians, going to their, not only tracking at Treasure Isle, but going to their homes and overdubbing, like Kenny Greenberg, Adam Schoenfeld, you know, Tim Lauer, you know. So, you know, it was just a long journey. The strings, and before I leave, I produced all that strings with Tim Lorsch, great string player here in Nashville, and spent a week doing that. Wow. So doing that, producing it myself, which I did produce everything myself, that goes back to my classical background, the musical background. I would not have been able to do any of that without, my background.
Right.
But it gained me respect where I've actually had people from different states want me to produce them now.
Well, is that an option for you as well? I mean, is that
in the future? Yeah.
Do you desire to do that?
I love producing. Okay, being hearing I have the ability to hear a song, and I can hear the end game, so to speak. Almost like a director of a movie.
Sure.
I have the ability to hear different parts almost automatically, and what can make a song. Now, they're not always right, but I at least try them, and being able to go into a position like that and working with guys like Chris Luthinger and these guys that have been on millions of albums and sit around a grand piano and tell them what I want, and then having them say, wow, this guy, man, he knows what he's doing. And that's garnishing, respect and not an egotistic way, but just being confident, being confident in yourself, but being able to, as far as producing, I would love to produce in the future, but right now I don't have time doing my own, music and writing and going forward with what I'm doing now.
Sure.
But yeah, I love producing.
Wow. How many songs have you done that you took to that level?
I did 10 songs. I tracked 10 songs, and I have 3 songs right now that are mastered, ready to go for radio. Actually, they have been played on radio stations, Australia, England, some radio stations, United States. 2 songs that are mixed, and basically all are at a high level. There's some songs I have to go back and add overdubbing and stuff. And the thing is, being an independent artist like I am right now, there's nothing different that I did than Jason Aldean or Keith Urban did. That's why it took me longer.
Yeah.
With funds and a lot of the stuff I did, guys helped me out, and which I'm grateful. And it took me longer, but I did it the right way. And that's why when people hear the music, they're like, wow, this is at a high level.
Yeah.
Being able to, I like I said, I tracked at Treasure Isle, and then I mixed it over at the Quad Studios. Treasure Isle, they have a older board, Trident board with Journey and groups like that. Jason uses it, but I wanted a modern mix to it, and that's why I went over to Quad, use SSL 9000, and I use Georgetown Mastering for the mastering over there. Andrew Mendelsohn, he's done Kiss, Motley Crue, Keith Urban. So when you do that, most independent artists don't go to that level.
What does that cost? Because I have no idea. What would someone on the street pay for a finished song, mastered? Real names.
Let me put it this way. See Amazing, for example. It's probably gonna be my first release. It's that song there. A guy like Keith Urban would probably pay. He probably pays around $20,000, $22,000, $24,000, $20,000, $25,000 a song. Wow. I paid about $3,000 for that.
You're kidding?
Yeah, and that was and that's because I produced it myself. You gotta remember there's production costs too. Since I saved an average producer in Nashville, for high level producer, is going to cost you anywhere from between $3,500 to possibly up to $7,000 to $8,000 a song. And you can imagine 10 songs. That's $35,000 to $70,000, $75,000.
That's it. I want to produce from now on.
And so and so I saved that cost by me producing it.
Yeah.
And that's why when people say, "Who's your producer?" I produced it myself.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't tell the labels that though. They'll want you to do all the songs that cheap.
Wow.
But this is like a one-time deal. Once I do get the search out and get the label deal that I'm after, I'll have a producer. At least I'll have a co-producer.
How many songs do you think you need to approach a label and have enough material for a label to say, yeah, we have a good taste here, we know what he's going to do?
Yeah.
Well, how many songs do you think an artist needs?
Really, artist needs, as far as songs for label, anywhere from 3-5 songs. You really don't need, if the songs need to be really good. They need to be like standout songs where it's going to garner attention. Because a label, if they like one song, they'll go to the next song, then they'll go to the next song. Having as as I am as a writer, having multiple songs is better because labels don't have to go out and search for publishing and stuff, which they might anyhow. They might say, "Hey, Chase, we want you to do this song." Which, hey, I respect that. I would do it. If it's a great song. But 3 to 5 songs.
There's a lot of independent artists that are making a really good living because they can self-publish, they can self-promote, they can play live, they can sell their records.
Right.
Would you prefer that over a major record deal? Or do you want the support of a major label?
I want the support of a major label, and I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why I want the support of the major label, and I know there's a kind of a pushback from independent artists sometimes because you depend on who you talk to. I would say if I would only have one maybe really good song, that was viable as a single, I might be in 1 or 2 songs. But with the interest that I've garnished with the people that hear my music, it would benefit me more to have the label, because the problem is with not having a label is distribution, marketing. It's so expensive, and everybody says, "Oh, you can do that yourself." Well, it's easier said than done. I mean, you got to have a machine behind you to do that. And if you have great songs, you got to get them out there. And I'm not afraid to do that. That's what I want to do to help. I don't want to be local. I don't want to be regional. I want to be a national, if not an international artist. And so I need major label, help to do that. And so I'm definitely not afraid to say that I'm after major label.
Are there any labels that are more attractive to you than others?
I would have to say the labels that and there's all type of great labels out there. Capital Nashville comes to mind. Big Machine. Labels that are probably a little bit more that into the type of music that I'm doing. Virgin actually has gotten a hold of me. Lava Records, part of Universal, they've actually got a hold of me, and they don't even sign country artists, but they got a hold of me because they like my music, And so I mean, it's there's so many labels out there, but you're right. It's important to have a label with your best interest.
Some bands are studio bands, and then when they play live, they're trying to capture their studio sound. Then there's other bands they're live bands, and when they record, they're like, well, we want to sound like we're playing in front of an audience. Which one do you think you are?
Far as the importance of having a great studio sound, a live sound is utmost important to me, because I can have, if there's so many bands and individuals out there that have great studio sounds, and when they come to the live sound, the bar drops a little bit. As far as with my music and with me, I raise the bar, and that's one thing why people like me when they come hear me. They Chase, your recordings are great, but you hearing you live, you're better, and that is a great compliment for me. So I pride myself in being a live act.
Gotcha.
Because that's where the fans are really coming to see you.
What's a typical response from someone who hears one of your songs for the very first time?
That's kind of interesting. I've been fortunate to have a really great response from most people, and they're just for one thing, they're just amazed that I able to write at the level that I do and sing voice, and the voice is really important. The vocals, people really like my voice, and the heart that I put behind my music, which I do. And I put a lot of energy into the music and writing and time in what I do. So people they really enjoy it. They want to ask me about where what drives you to write this type of music, and they feel it. For me, it's important that people feel the music that they hear, like in the old days, man, where you could feel a song. And I want to, that's important to me, that they actually feel and try to hit that target. So
you just brought that up, you know, in the old days. What we mentioned the Eagles and Bad Company, but what are some of those influences that you think kind of guide your music?
Well, everything has influenced me, from Vince Gill to the Eagles, the Bad Company. You know what I like? What influences me, whether it be Chris Daughtry or Three Doors Down, or Keith Urban, is the energy, the raw energy that these people bring. I like people when they are genuine, in their music. And whether it be Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, if you go back and listen to some of those before my day, but it's fun to go back and see the energy, of Stevie Nicks, and see that. And I think we've kind of lost that a little bit. Not everybody, there's still people out there bringing it, but I think it seems like those back in the day, back then, a lot of artists brought it, and laid it on the line, laid their soul on a performance, like it was their last performance. And I think that's when I perform out there, that's basically how I am. I believe I give it all, and I'm physically and emotionally drained after a performance, and because I want it to be that way for the people. And as far as influence, that's what influences me, and I have a lot of them. But
what's the most demanding part of what you do as an independent artist?
Wow, there's so much as an independent artist when you're doing and managing yourself, and the hardest thing really is keeping your overall vision intact and not straying from that. And what I mean by that is that it involves so much band members, meeting people, meeting the right people that can help you. You got to put different hats on. You got your performance hat, you got your writing hat, your production hat, rehearsal hat, getting ready for the show, meeting influential people. It's all a lot of hard work, but it's worth it. For every door that closes, there's a door that opens. And I totally believe that because I've seen it, happen in my own life and with this journey, the road I'm on. So it's not it's a tough business. But anything good isn't going to come easy.
When you write and record a song, is it let's get this done, let's make it sound good, or is it let's take as long as it takes and make it perfect?
Me being a perfectionist, it's I think some of the engineers will say, Chase Allan, when you ask some engineers in Nashville, is he a perfectionist? And say, oh yeah. Because you know why? I care about the music. I care what people hear. I think you have a little bit of both. It goes back to what I was saying before. When I create music, I don't think, wow, this song is gonna make me a lot of money, or could make me a lot of money, or I don't do that. I write what's out of my heart, and if it takes me a week, it takes me a week. If it takes me 2 weeks, it takes me 2 weeks. And I just want to make sure that song is going to be a song that reaches as many as people across the board as I can. And it's not about rushing and making it right. Now, sometimes things can happen like that, but unfortunately for me, it doesn't. It seems like it takes me a little longer, but that's not necessarily bad.
Right.
Because I would have had, actually, when I recorded It's Your Love, I didn't even have the lyrics done for that. That was the last lyrics I wrote. And when I tracked that song. So for me, it's not so much as rushing through. It's making it right the first time. And that carries over to when I not only writing the song, but when I'm tracking and when I'm especially when I'm doing my vocals in the studio, making sure that so people, it's like anybody doing a job. You want to do it the best you can. If you have a job sweeping a floor, you sweep it as best as you can. And there's and I have no excuses doing that myself. For my music, doing the best I can, because people deserve that I believe, from me, because when they listen to me, I want to have them take that little bit of time they listen to me and my music, take a piece of that with them, and have a positive impact on them.
Yeah.
So
you said you do music first, typically, and then lyrics.
Right.
But do you ever just write lyrics? Are you ever just inspired and need to tell a story? And
I do that occasionally, but I'm so inclined right now how I do things, writing songs and stuff, or parts of songs, and I keep them. And I have the ability where I can write 8 different pieces of songs or 8 different parts. I don't have to record them. I can remember them. So the way it works best for me at this point is writing the song first and then writing the lyrics. So that's just how it works for me. And it's no magical thing. I don't get up in the middle of the night and jump out of my bed. Although I have wrote at 5 a.m. up to 2 a.m, so it's when you get inspired, it's and when you do have the inspiration, you run with it, whether it be the music itself, composition, or the lyrics. So that's how I do it.
Do you ever have dry periods where you just can't create?
The funny thing is, when I was doing this recording, going to people's houses at these last 10 songs, and I really wasn't spending a lot of time. I went through 6 months where I didn't write a thing.
Wow.
And
that's a long time.
Well, it was so involved I was playing out, I was getting the music ready, overdubbing, but it's like riding a bike. I just wrote a song called Brand New Day. We just performed it in Start a Night. Great new singles. So for me, God has given me ability. I'm blessed to be able to take 6 months and concentrate on another part of the music, because there's so much part in music that you have to take care of, especially when you're an independent artist.
Yeah.
And I was able to just be able to come back and write a couple more singles, 2 or 3 singles, and many more. I have actually like 8 to 10 new ones that we're working on now. And so it's like riding a bike, for me, and so I'm fortunate that I can do that. But
when do you think you'll record again?
Actually, I was supposed to record in February, this coming February, but it's been pushed back. I don't know how long it's pushed back, maybe a month and a half, because we actually are auditioning new drummers, and plus we're getting our business in. We have a lot of opportunities coming up. I do, and getting things tied down and stuff like management, and I played a lot in Nashville. Basically, I have not, with this material, I've not played a lot outside of Nashville, but every time I play outside of Nashville, people are just, they love it. Response. I mean, it goes back to what you said about musicians in Nashville. It's hard to find guys in Nashville that are going to do things, without being paid.
Yeah.
And so my music actually was being played a lot, like in different radio stations, independent stations throughout, Europe, where I wasn't even playing, and so which I am now, and I played all the places in Nashville, Rutledge, Third and Lindsley, all the main places in Nashville, and but it's time to take the music outside of Nashville.
Yeah. Do you think that's your key? Is getting in front of as many people as possible?
I think it's part of the key. I think it's that, and also, like it goes back to the web, and getting the right people to hear your music, in the audience, because all it takes is that one person, and it is important to play out. You have to play. That's part of being a performer. You have to, whether it's acoustic or, in my instance, a band, or both. You have to get out there and play, and you have to create that buzz fans, and radio is important. Radio, you can touch where you might have 200 to 500 or 1,000 people in a crowd. Radio, you might have 200,000 people listen to you. So I can't discount that. That's a big thing, So yeah, it's very important for me to be playing.
Have you thought about maybe latching on to a tour and taking 2013 and just hitting the road?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do.
Awesome.
We are going to do it. We're
Good.
going to be doing that, down the road here. And what we've been doing right now, we've been writing new material. And not that I don't have enough material, but when you're a songwriter and you're inspired, you got and the songs we've written, the new songs I've written. Let me rephrase that again. I'm sorry. I'm like, the new songs that I'm writing now are just, we're getting great response from them, the people that are hearing them, and so we're adding new songs to the list. And you can never have enough songs, and labels, they love that. When you can write, you can prove, it's these guys. This guy is not a one, song wonder or one album wonder. This guy can bring it 2 or 3 albums down the road, and that's what we're doing. We're preparing for a national show. My band is actually preparing not for local, not for regional. We're preparing a national act.
Good.
And so that's taken very serious, because it is very serious.
Yeah. What would be the ideal break for you right now?
The ideal break for me right now would be someone influential, and I suppose maybe an A&R person, or maybe not, marketing, to listen to my songs and say, hey, this guy has something special. He writes his stuff, and you cannot discount writing. Cannot discount, especially here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Writing is the key. That magical song, one song that someone, and always starts with one song, and for that person to hear that and say, Chase has something special to offer, and I think he's worth looking at, and meeting and stuff. And when people meet me, they like me. I'm, I'm very personal, almost to a fault sometimes, but that's just the way how I'm wired. I'll always be Chase, no matter what happens. I'll always be personable and be the guy that you can have a glass of wine with, or beer with, or chat with, and that's just who I am.
Do you think great management would be the next best step?
Yeah, and you can't discount that. Management is important, very important. And you gotta, when it comes to management, you just can't have any management.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to have management here. I don't have management. The reason why I don't have management is because it has to be the right management, and not just a friend, or just or Uncle Joe. Nothing against Uncle Joe, but
Right.
I need someone that knows what they're doing. That when they talk, when they have 100 influential people in a room, that they can go up to the 5 people that they know that are going to help me. And it's just, management's so important, and so in that we're in the process of right now working with that and getting that happening. So
what's next for Chase Allan?
Next, after we get the national act down, the show down, and we're in rehearsal right now, and we start working on our show the next week. Hopefully we'll have this all wrapped up in the next couple of months. From there, we have opportunities, abound with doing more with the Lane Goodwin Foundation and national acts or national shows, showcases, getting ourselves the right financing, backing is so important.
Yeah.
Going forward, more promotion, more marketing, a little bit of everything. For entertainment, it's just not one thing. There's so many facets of it that you have to have. You have to have it all together.
Yeah.
That your image, your music, And I do have the image, I do have the music. Now the last thing is the management, and then going forward with that, with the show, and all comes together, which it will be shortly. And I'm real happy about that finally.
Good.
And
What in Nashville do you think was maybe the best thing you've done, like a showcase or writer's night or whatever? What's one thing you've done here where you just said, yeah, that had a lot of impact?
Well, one thing I did, it's great when the guys that you play with, the studio guys that you've recorded with actually come and watch you play, and they get on stage with you. And several of them have. And one night, B. James Lowry, who is he won ACM Guitar Player of the Year for Faith Hill's Breathe.
Wow.
He's one of the best studio musicians, acoustic player. He's played, everybody from Luke Bryan, to Faith Hill, to Brooks and Dunn, Tim McGraw. He's done it all. Got on stage with me and jammed with one of my songs, Let Me Go. Loved my material, and had great words of wisdom for me. That's fun. I like getting guys up there and playing. That was actually at the Rutledge. All the clubs are fun here, but then again, you can play the clubs here, forever. You gotta get out of. You really need to get out of Nashville. Nashville's a great place to record, great place to meet musicians, of course. Music City, and the labels are all here. But you have to take it to the people, the fans, and there are fans here. Don't get me wrong, but you got to take it different states, regions, and especially when you have music that's commercial, and like mine, it's important. You can't let that set in a closet, and so that was a good time there.
Do you record at home?
I do my demos at home, and then after I have my demos done, I either show it to with the music that we're working on now, I show it to the guys, and then we learn it. They learn the parts and stuff. But as far as the professional recording studio, it's always in a studio. It's a pro studio, but I do some recording at home, for demo work. Stuff like that.
Do you ever track at home, vocals, anything like that, on the bigger projects?
Oh, no, not at all. I always use nothing wrong with that, but right now I've been using main studios to do my stuff.
Let's say you moved here today, Chase. I ask this question in every show. Mm-hmm. Let's say you moved to Nashville today. What's the first thing you do? Your first month here, what do you do to connect with Nashville, to network? What would be your advice to someone moving here?
Moving to Nashville, wow. It's such there's so many musicians here and so many people to meet. There's the wrong people to meet and there's the right people to meet. There's a lot of snakes here and there's a lot of great people here.
Yeah.
I would say try to connect with somebody that's been here for a while, not somebody who's been here for 6 months, somebody's been here for 3, 4, 5 years, that they know where you need to go. They know that, necessary Broadway is not the answer, that can take you into the studios, meet the studio managers, do the legwork, go meet people that are running the studios, engineers, because I'm telling you, man, the engineers here in Nashville, the good engineers, they know everybody. They know in and out. They can lead you to the best studio musicians, because there are A, B, and C guys here, and there's a difference, in playing.
Sure.
That's what I would say. I would say connect with somebody like an engineer, a couple engineers that could lead you to the right people, and also other musicians. The musicians have been playing here for a while.
Yeah.
Not just anybody. And so I think that would be my start.
What would you say is your favorite part of the creation process?
Wow, Drew, that's a great question. It goes from writing to recording, studio work, to playing live. I would have to say my favorite part, even though I love writing, I love the feel when you write when you write, the juices are flowing and the heart's into it. You can just tell a song's coming out of you. And I also like the recording, working with other guys. But my favorite part is live performance. When I can see the people, when they just stand out there and they're just listening, they're intent, whether they're with their boyfriend or a husband or wife or by themselves with friends, they're enjoying your music. A slow song when you can just look at people and say, wow, you're touching their lives with your music. In a fast song where they're getting into it or dancing, you're just, for that moment, you're grabbing, you're reaching out and you're giving yourself to them, so to speak, in with your music. And so that is definitely my most favorite part, is the live performance, laying it on the line, your heart on the line for the people, for your fans.
What would you say is your favorite place to play in Nashville?
I would have to say right now it would probably be the Rutledge.
Really?
Yeah, because the sound there is great. I mean, it's just, I can the monitoring system. They all have good, but for me, I'd have to say the Rutledge right now, and I've played all of them. Mercy Lounge is great too. Third and Lindsley was fun, but I really like the intimate setting of the Rutledge, smaller, and that's probably my favorite place right now to play.
My guest today has been country music artist Chase Allan. Chase, thank you so much for being on Music City Social.
Thank you very much, Drew, for having me. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Music City Social. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on Music City Social, please visit musiccitysocial.net and click the Recommend a Guest link at the top of the page. Music City Social is produced by Star Maker PR Group, providing publicity and public relations services to the entertainment industry. Learn more at starmakerpr.com.